focus on search engine marketing. And today I am with
Greg! Hey everyone, I'm Greg McKinnon with Original 72 Creative. We're a full service website graphic design and digital marketing firm in Vancouver.
Awesome. And so today's topic is it's all about setting up your conversion tracking. What is it? Why does it matter? How do we even do it? All that good stuff.
It is that time.
So we are coming through on the audio. That's awesome. Okay,
Yep.
great.
That's the second you get when
Yeah.
when you try to pull it up and you like hit the mute right away.
Yeah, for sure. I've just got it set up as a notification, so I'm like, oh, okay, at least we're actually live, so that counts for something. So I guess we'll start off. Is the highest level of like what actually is the conversion tracking. And so basically what we're talking about is it is like a type of event tracking, but it's very specific to the business. So if you're e-commerce, it's someone completing a sale. Is it if you're like, you need leads, it's someone filling out a contact form. These are like very specific business events that you're going to be looking for.
And sometimes not like specific to the business itself, but I think specific to actions that are happening on your site, like setting up a lead, but knowing that lead was a phone click or a form submission or an email, getting granular in knowing what that lead actually was.
Yeah, exactly. And also, because of the way Google Analytics tracks things, you can also go into multi-channel funnel and see the steps that it took them to get to that one point. So Google does keep track of that. So it's also really useful for you to kind of figure out like, oh, I'm getting a lot of people from the ads, but it actually turns out they're searching me afterwards on Google Organic. So you can actually kind of break down the steps, and the conversion's just kind of the last step in the funnel. Of course, the whole funnel is important to track, but like this is the consequential like last step before they reached out to you or gave you money, basically.
Yeah.
So. And as you kind of mentioned there's different actions that also get included. Another one that it's lesser, but you still want to track it is email signups. Getting people on your newsletter because you've got on their newsletter. They're saying they want to hear from you again, and if you're an e-commerce company, that could be really useful. That maybe it's not on the first sale, but they can come back again, and you can re-engage with them. So there's lots of little steps because everyone's super busy these days. We're easily distracted, and getting some way to have contact with people again is super important these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the interesting things about setting up conversions is even seeing the pages. Like when you talk about a mailing list sign up, a lot of times people have mailing list signups throughout their site or at the bottom of like every page, and being able to get the information of where most people are signing up to your mailing list, because those types of things you can determine, okay, well, on this page it's here and I'm getting more leads from that page, so you might decide to change your mailing list sign up on other pages to get more. Same thing for calls and email clicks or form submissions. The data that you can get if they are on multiple pages is really valuable to be able to maximize what you're getting out of it by getting it into the right places on your site and the right pages.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because like it's definitely that would be like segmenting. So you're finding out that like your SEO pages, when you write content about SEO, like that's the page that people are actually clicking and converting. So all the data that goes around that conversion is also super important. Of like, were they on mobile? Were they on desktop? Are they in your target like area, or are they coming from different locations? All this data around the actual event itself, which think tools like Google Analytics does capture, is really useful for you to start to realize like, oh, I am getting a lot of traffic for social media, but it's not converting. Okay, so maybe I need to pivot to what is working, and then you can double down on what's actually working, and it saves you and like your whole business a lot of time and effort, because you focus on what's actually converting, not just what's increasing your traffic overall.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, just kind of going off of that, something that you had brought up when we were doing some prep for this part is like, we were talking about like setting up a Facebook pixel, because Facebook has their own conversions, and definitely if you're doing Facebook ads, you want to have conversions set up to know that it's working. And then we were talking about like, what's the distinction in between like the pixel and the event tracking with the pixel. And so basically the pixel itself is it's closer to Google Analytics, where it's just kind of capturing all this information. But the pixel is going to be, it has a little script and a little bit of code that fires when a specific thing happens. So visiting a thank you page, clicking on the mail to link, you could set that up that let Facebook know, hey, this was an event, like it's a consequential event that happened and I would like it tracked. And so you can have it pushed to, from your website to Facebook pixel. And so that way you can capture, again, like more rich data, and especially for your ads, because you can see, oh, they're not converted, like, all this traffic from Facebook is not doing really, like, they're clicking on the mail to link for some reason a lot more. And so that's something you might want to track and be able to distinguish those separate parts about what events are they actually taking, or what are the actions that they're taking on your website.
So I know we're going to go through something later, but I wanted to ask, what we're talking about today is sort of not setting up analytics, because everybody, we've beat that topic with a dead horse. This is really extending your analytics to be able to have specific things to track within. So you're using typically Google Analytics for your web analytics, and then you're also using Data Studio for reporting, and Tag Manager specifically today is what we're really going through, I believe, for specifics on setting up conversion tracking. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Google Analytics, it will fit inside a Tag Manager, and then once it's connected there, Tag Manager is a really good kind of, I think of it like a Zapier kind of no-code solution, where it basically took away, especially for event tracking, it took it all away, and it's all nicely hidden in a couple of like little form fields you fill out. And if you've ever tried to set up Google Analytics event tracking, it is it's just awful. It's not fun whatsoever to set up. I never liked it. I did it like once or twice, and Tag Manager just basically, you need a bit of idea about like what it is you want to be tracking, but the actual like code is just completely taken out of the picture. You don't need to worry about it. It also helps you with debugging. So it has a nice little debug mode that you can set up, and it will tell you when this fired, tell you the data about like what happened where you clicked. It can tell you all kinds of cool information, because you can have a situation that I was setting up conversion tracking for a new client, and we were using lead pages because their new site's being built, and so we still wanted to get them leads in the meantime. But the thing is that the lead pages, I did my usual, like this link, it's like a tell, so it's the phone link, and I thought I'd set it all up normally, and it just wasn't being tracked properly. So then I went into the debug mode, and it's really useful. It told me that no, it didn't fire, and it was because that they had done some weird version where they made it into a little form. It was kind of weird, but I could figure out based on what Tag Manager was telling me that like if I just did the phone number, the actual text of the link, that would work. And so did that, bing bang boom, and away we go. So a lot of the debugging, as well as just having the code taken away and just made like little form fields that you fill in, it makes it super easy for you to get started.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you have a ton more to go over before we try to jump into something, because I don't know how long this little tutorial will take, but we're 10 minutes in, so I don't want to run out of time at the end. And maybe we can give that a go if you're ready for that.
Yeah, 1 second, just because this is going to be all new and all new for us.
Screen sharing, people.
We're doing some screen sharing. It's demo time. So I am sharing my screen here so this is our Seymour Digital Media website. And so what I'm wanting to do is, I'm down in my footer and I know that I've got this tell link here. So we know that I want to be tracking this in Tag Manager. So what I would do is I'll be in Tag Manager here and so we're in the Tag Manager, and when you're in here, you're going to want to set up first your variables that are on the left hand side. And so what these are is a lot of the built-in ones that we've kind of been talking about. You kind of need to set them up. They won't be out of the box set up. So you'll go to configure, and the ones that we always do, we'll also add these forms. And so you're going to want everything under the click. So that'll tell you anytime that something is clicked, it kind of captures this information, and we could use it to identify certain links. So we got a click URL. We definitely want to have that activated. Forms, you can capture information from forms and do a bunch of really crazy stuff, but that's definitely advanced. There's the video stuff. So you can track when people watch videos on your website and like how far they go, so you can also make audiences out of that, though that might be changing in the future.
And so what you're doing right now is you're kind of going through the variables and checking on everything that you would want to use.
Yeah, exactly.
And set up. Like not everything gets set up in the one thing. This is more like turning things on so that you can set it up.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is just a one and done. Do it the first time you come in here, and you're going to be just making sure these are all activated because we're going to need the click URL to actually create this event tag. So once you've activated them, we're going to go back to tags because we want to create a new one. And we're going to go create new in the top right hand corner there. And we'll, under tag configuration, it opens up. It has these nice pre-built ones. So one you'll notice here is Google Analytics, Universal Analytics. And as this loads, we've got, so the tracking type, this is where we're going to make the change. Usually this is how you would set up like track every page, standard Google Analytics. But we're actually going to pick event. So now we can do lead. This is kind of how I break them down, is I want to know that these are leads if they fill out the form or if they click a link. So I do link clicked as the action. So I kind of think of it as category is what type of event is this? The action is kind of like a subset of that, where it's like, is it a form filled? Is it a link clicked? And then the label is going to be the specific form or link that got clicked. So in this case, it is going to be, helps if I spell correctly, phone link clicked. And then from there, you're going to set up your Google. You'll have to set up a new variable if you haven't done this before. But they basically what they want is your UA, the ID for your Google Analytics, because this tells it where to go once everything's been captured.
Yeah.
And so here is the trigger. So it has two parts. It always has the configure and then the trigger. So in this case, we're going to. This one's new. So this is a new one. That's the consent initialization that's just come out with Tag Manager that has to do with GDPR and that kind of data privacy. So it's still very new. So I'm interested to see how it's all going to work. And then in the top right hand corner, we're going to click on the plus because we're going to set up a new trigger, and we're going to configure the trigger. And it is, so you notice we've got now scroll depth, YouTube video, form submission. We've got a bunch of these other ones that we've activated, but we're after click all elements, but we actually don't want it to be everything. We just want it to be some things. And we want it that the click URL contains. And so the value that we're going to put in there is we go to our website. I'm going to right click and I am going to copy link address. Easiest way to make sure that you don't have any typos. Then we're going to save that part. We are going to call this phone link clicked. I may have done this once or twice according to my browser. And then we are going to say event tracking. I'm going to do that and then just change it instead of mail to phone link clicked. So now we have it saved. Now all we have to do is submit it. So in the top right hand corner, click on submit. Give it a name. In this case, added tell link tracking. And then hit publish in the top right hand corner. And that is all you need to get started. So you can definitely play around with, if you were to do this mail to link, you'll have to add, you can't just copy it. They'll just let you copy the email address. You have to add the mail to the yeah, that one could be a little bit tricky, or you could just do the text itself. So link text is equal to this. That's another way that we could set that up.
And so the way that you set this one up will actually track the click of that phone number specifically in that space, or on the site in general throughout all pages?
It will actually do it on all pages, but it will also, Google Analytics will also capture which page it happened on. So you can, in Google Analytics, subdivide that out. And then while we're here, actually, I'm going to show.
Basically, you would get the information of which pages people are clicking that from, and potentially that it was that bottom link, or no, just the page.
So that's a really good question. It would. So for us, the phone link and the tell link are on. They're only in the footer, and I think the only exception is the contact page. So in that instance, I wouldn't be super stressed about like where it came on the contact page. Right. I mean, if there was a really big issue with it going forward, then I might, modify it to have specific links. There might be something different about them because you can actually set multiple conditions.
In the trigger. Like maybe a class thing, you can set a class on it and say like this specific link, but classed as this is everything in the footer, like class footer or class header, if you have one in the header and footer, and then you can sort of segregate which ones are being clicked more, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it would. I would set it up. So this one, see more. Actually, just copy it off of here. So just going to show you the preview mode, just because it'll be fun to just kind of see how this one operates as well. So you will need to get the Tag Assistant Chrome extension, because it does the connecting. They didn't used to need it, but now they do. And I think it's the new one that you need. This one. But what we could do is you can. So it's the little tag icon that you can see here. You'll look for this one. If you search for Tag Assistant, you'll see both of them are really good, honestly. But you'll notice that now Tag Assistant says connected and it's flashing. And so what we can do is we can see now that everything that fired and also everything that did not fire. So that could be really good for us. So we've got phone link did not fire. So what we want to do is test it by scrolling down and clicking on that. Of course, it wants to actually call, but now we should see event tracked phone link clicked. And it tells us a little bit of information about, it contained this and it was because of a click. And it sent to the Google Analytics, and then it told us what information about it. So this could be really helpful for you to just figure out what's going on with it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also you can get a link clicked. So you can specific events, like there's scroll depth one, so we're tracking that. Those were fired, but so we got the link clicked, and you can go to the data layer, and it shows you a bunch of information that's going on with it. It's, going back to our conversation about when I was trying to debug and figure out what was not working, going here and figuring out like, oh, the ID is blank, class is blank. Oh, but the URL is this. So I can use that bit of information.
Yeah.
So you might need to play around a little bit with specific events to kind of figure out like, oh, this one's not quite what we were hoping for, but this is.
And so we're still in Tag Manager here, looking at the data and what it collected. But is Tag Manager what you would use to look at to get this information, or are you then getting this reported in Analytics or Data Studio instead?
That's a great question. So yeah, basically these are all things that are working together. So they're all part of the marketing platform where Analytics actually stores and analyzes all your data. Tag Manager holds your tags as well as letting you know when they fire. So it makes it really nice. They're all in one place. And then you can say, oh, I only want this to fire, like a conversion tracking tag from Google Ads. Sorry, we're getting some questions in our chat as well. Sorry. If you want to track the number of clicks out to get to, yeah. So going off that, just when you were asking, is setting up certain events is, so someone's asking what would normally make it not fire properly. There's a few things. Your trigger might not be set up correctly. Make sure that the container is published. The Google Tag Manager is actually published the first time. Just to make sure that you need to do that part. You also, if you're like ad blockers might also affect it because there are bits of JavaScript that are firing. So that's what they usually block, is they just make sure that any extra JavaScript is kind of blocked afterwards. So yeah, that could affect it. So make sure that when you're testing it, that you take off your ad blockers on the site, just because you won't be having muddled data. Because I've definitely run into that a lot where they didn't realize that the ad blocker was going. So there's definitely a lot of potential parts. It's usually your trigger isn't set up correctly. So the thing that's supposed to set it off isn't set up correctly, and then you just have to figure out going through this assistant and the tag assistant with the preview mode for Tag Manager and just kind of play around to see what's actually not working or why it isn't firing.
So going back to the reporting, they all do work together. Is there anything specific that you need to do now that we have it set up in Tag Manager so that we do look at the results within Google Analytics or your other spots, or like where, now that it's set up, where do we find this information to look at how many clicks we're getting? And
yeah, let me because I'm just going to stop sharing for 1 second while I bring that up, because that's a great question. And it's all going to be found in Google Analytics. Right. And it's going to be your home. I'm just loading it all up. It does load a lot faster when I'm not sharing my screen. So what we'll do, taking a nice, sweet, long time. But yes, it's all going to be found in Google Analytics. And specific to what we did, it would be found in the real time. You would need to find it there and then kind of make sure that you're doing the last 30 minutes, unless you've got it open right at the minute. Because it will, real time will give you a really good data, and it will take a few hours for it all to get congregated and everything to get analyzed by the Google Analytics for it to show you. So real time, it will show you this is actually working. But actually doing any analysis on what pages, where do they come from, all that good stuff, you're going to have to wait. I would usually recommend 24 hours, the nature.
And what section would it be under after? So we set this up a month ago. We want to go see what last month's data was telling us about how many times our phone number was clicked. Is it in a specific section in?
Yes. Yes, it is. And I'm bringing that up right now. And it's going to be under behavior.
You don't have to do anything specific to have it show there.
Oh.
Like you just set it up and you're good
Yeah.
to go. And then in analytics, it will just start showing in.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Yeah, you don't have to configure anything extra about like how does it interact, like to capture all the page information, the source and medium, like all that good stuff is all taken care of by Google Analytics, which is why I'm a big advocate for it, is because they just took away all the complicated parts that made setting up event tracking really, really annoying.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to bring it up right now. I
mean, you still need to know what you're doing, but it's not as complicated as what it used to be. Back in the day.
Exactly. And it's that you can get down to actually analyzing what's going on, not worrying about if it's set up properly or not. And so that's definitely one where sorry, there's a cat that's trying to climb on my laptop and knock over my mic, and I'm trying to avoid that part. That's
all that cat tracking.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, this is just not wanting to load. Okay, there we go. Okay, one sec, and we will go back to sharing our screen for a quick second. Okay,
we'll probably get in there and we won't really see anything because we just did event tracking, right? So there's no data there yet.
Well, we've got other data that should be in here. So the scroll depth, the contact forms, so we'll be able to see. So in analytics, you would go to behavior, then events, and then you can either go view events or go with top events. And this will start to break down, we've got our chat widget that you saw when we went to our website. Well, it has, because we're in category, we can go down to action. So these number ones come from Clarity. We're just playing with that in Microsoft Clarity. Really cool new tool from them that does heat mapping. So interesting stuff. And so we can see that the playbook fired. So no one took any further actions with it. That's just the first trigger. But then, and again, as we talked about, you can start to do source and medium, break it out that way. You could do the pages. So, Google Organic is a lot of our traffic here, so that is interesting to see. And so, you can start to break down different cross-compare it of what event happened and where did they come from. And so you can start to break things down that way. So it's definitely a lot of fun to kind of break out. And then also, like you said, is in Data Studio, the reporting tool, you can then create a chart that cross compares these things. And we do it with our clients of having it the type of event. So, their phone link gets clicked, their contact form gets filled out, and then cross compare that with where did they come from. So we can actually show that, your Google Ads is actually getting you traffic and getting you leads. And so it's a way that we can show more value to the clients, and it's easy for them to understand, we're getting ads and those ads are then converting. So, it's all good. And then, definitely. Someone was asking what color is the cat, and it's black. No, it's the black. It's the black kittens that are very inquisitive and definitely lovable, but a bit annoying sometimes.
What are you doing up there?
Yeah, exactly. You've got all this nice.
I'm not shocked that you guys have a ton of triggers set up in your analytics, because I know Pip loves her measures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and of course we're our own guinea pigs for a lot of this stuff of like the new tool, like let's like the Clarity, like just connect all that up and get that going. And so there's definitely it is a really really powerful tool to get set up with. The other one that I'm going to leave in the chat is Analytics Mania. He's a resource that I use pretty much all the time when it comes to Tag Manager. He's really in depth, like as beginner as you want to be or as advanced as you want to be. Like he runs the whole gamut. Super useful resource for learning this, which is the other reason why I would recommend people learning Tag Manager now, is the amount of resources that's available now for learning and getting the most out of Tag Manager and getting started with like really in-depth event tracking and conversion tracking has never been better than now.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe it. Cool.
Alright.
Well, we got through, and it was like almost perfect timing because we're
Yeah.
pretty much out of time.
Yeah, exactly. This has been a great talk. I hope it was super informative for everyone watching. I'll try to get to any other questions in the chat a little bit later on, but we super appreciate everyone that was watching. And again, my name is Phelan from Seymour Digital Media. We're focused on search engine marketing.
And I'm Greg with Original 72 Creative.
Awesome. And we're signing off until next week.
Thanks, guys.